Hi guys, this is jjlockhART back again this week with a new art video. And this week I decided to draw a spider. This spider is inspired by a spider that I saw in real life, scary enough. About a week or two ago I was outside putting some food on the grill and I noticed this ridiculously big spider and I looked it up and it looked like a golden or yellow and black orb weaver. And that's what my sister thought it might be, and we looked it up, and that's what it looked like. Or it could be a golden and black garden spider. I'm not sure. Either way, it's poisonous. And I really liked the colors, and then I'd never seen a spider that big in person in real life. So I just thought it looked so beautiful. And so for this piece, I really wanted to keep the same color scheme, which is predominantly yellow and black. And I also wanted it to look a little more deadly, I guess. And so I came up with the concept of making the body look like a skull. And at first I was thinking about maybe a poison bottle, making maybe the body into a bottle shape. But I thought that might be a little too, I don't know, too much. So I was thinking about a skull, and usually with bottles that are poison, there's usually a skull and crossbones to sort of symbolize that it's deadly. And so I liked the skull concept, and so I was thinking, that's pretty round. That might look nice in the body of the spider. And so I wanted to have the same colors and markings as an orb weaver, but have sort of this where you have to sort of look twice to see the skull. So it's sort of hidden, but once you see it, you definitely see it. And so I decided to keep the rest of the artwork, and you'll see through the video, a little bit more, I guess, plain as far as the background, as far as usually I have flowers or other I guess pieces and parts to the composition, but I wanted to keep it pretty simple and sort of decorative with the little dots in order to really have the spider be the main focus. And here I decided to use the Sakura koi pocket, what is it called? The pocket watercolor box or something like that. I'll have to look it up and I'll put it in the description box. But it's a Sakura koi travel watercolor set, and I'm also using the brush that came with the set, and it's one of those aqua brushes, and I really enjoy it. The only thing is that the bristles sometimes keep going out, not coming apart, but sort of moving upward. And so that can sometimes be annoying, but overall I really like it. And in these clips, you're going to see in the bottom corner a webcam of myself painting, and that's because I've started streaming my paintings on Wednesday nights from usually around 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., and that's East Coast time. So if you want to check out me painting it live in real time, then check it out. I'll be streaming here on YouTube and also on a website called Watch Me Work. So I'll leave all the links in the description box and in the bottom of the description box. But yeah, so that's what is the recording in the corner, is just the webcam and the recording of the video, so I can simultaneously stream and record. But yeah, so sometimes you'll see me in the corner, and we'll probably, for upcoming videos, probably see some clips with me in the corner. But yeah, so if you want to watch me real time, or you have questions that you want me to answer, while I'm painting, then check it out. It would be wonderful to have a little chit chat and being able to talk to you while I'm streaming, especially when I'm doing watercolor, because with a watercolor, sometimes I'm just like literally waiting for water to dry. So I definitely can take a moment to answer any questions or talk about something or just chit chat. So make sure to check me out. And that's on Wednesdays at 8. But as far as the painting, so I decided to, like I said, keep the background pretty simple. I have the webs in the background, but again, I didn't want to add too much color to that area because I didn't want it to call a lot of attention. And I guess I wanted the center of the spider to be the main focal point. And so I left it like that. And then I decided to add the little, I guess it's decor, but it's the little dots with the little hanging bits, sort of to look sort of like part of the spider web and sort of like rain droplets, but almost feel like jewelry or something ornate. Yeah. And then for this part, I decided to add a little bit of color there in the center, just to give it a little bit of, it gets a little more interest, because I was standing back a little bit and trying to figure out, what would make this a little more interesting without it being too much. So I decided to put a little bit of red in that area. And then as far as the spider webs here, I'm actually, first I did a wash of blue, and now I'm adding like some variations of blue. And I like to do that sometimes with a wet on wet technique. I'll put some water down and then I'll add color to the water. And then I like that effect it gives. It gives it like little like spots almost. And it just adds a little variety, a little bit of interest in those areas where I want to keep not so busy, I guess. And I think for almost the whole piece, I use just this watercolor palette. Sometimes I'll use others, like sometimes I'll use my hydrus, my liquid ones. I also have liquid acrylics sometimes I'll use, but I mostly use just that one watercolor palette. And then here I'm using my Polychromos to add a little bit of shading to the legs, just to give it a little bit of depth. And I really like these color pencils. They're very smooth, very pigmented. But here I do have to be a little careful because there are certain areas that are still a little wet. But again, in the interest of not having just water drying on the stream, I sort of like work in different areas. So I'll work on the web, and then I'll work back on the spider, and then go back and forth so that I'm not working on an area that's still wet. But that way I can always be working on something so that my streams are not just, waiting for water to dry. Again, just adding more variety, definition with the Polychromos. And there I'm just deepening the red just a little bit. And there I'm adding like a little bit of like shape to the little dots, so they look a little bit like prisms. And I'm using the Uniball Signal White white pen in broad. And then just adding some highlights to the spider. And I really love this pen because it's like very opaque white, but I feel like because it's so opaque, sometimes it'll get a little chunky on the end. So you'll see me continuously like write on the tape on the sides, or just mark it on my pen, like on my finger, try and rub some of the crustiness off of the tip of it. But yeah, I think just because it's so opaque, sometimes the ink will just get crusty and like pile up on the tip, and then it's like a little bit difficult to use. So yeah, that's what you see. That's why on my board you'll see like little white bits, and it's just for me just trying to scrape off some of those bits. Yep, there you go on my finger again. But yeah, and then I'm adding a little bit of detailing on the web area. Since some of the areas were like really blue, I thought that the white webbing, like using white ink to use to draw some of the webbing on those dark areas would look nice. And then in standing back, I felt like it was still lacking some color, and so I went in and added another layer. And here I'm wetting the canvas first, or wetting the paper first, and then applying the color onto the wet areas. And I'm using like sort of like a stippling motion to add a little bit of texture, because I do want it, not completely smooth. I do want some texture in those corner areas. And the best part of completing a piece of artwork is just taking off the tape. It's just like, so satisfying. Yeah, I really like how this piece turned out, and I like it's not very complicated. I really like it, and I really like that the spider and that skull is the main focal point. And thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.